Folks, it has been a while, but it is finally time for another game room tour from a fellow collector, and that happens to be Josh, a good friend of mine. Me and him have been friends for many years. We work for the same company. We've been game hunting together. We've played video games together. We've known each other for quite a while. He's known as GoTeamJosh on Instagram, and I will leave that in the description down below. And today, Josh is going to take us on a quick tour of his awesome game room, and you're going to love it because it's one of the coolest game rooms that I've been in, so we cannot wait to show you. You ready to get into it?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I mean, I have a lot of cool stuff in the game room, but this may be like my favorite corner or wall area. This is just the big Legend of Zelda wall. Obviously, you know, disclaimer, I don't have every piece of Legend of Zelda merchandise ever made. I don't claim to have every piece of Legend of Zelda merchandise ever made. I don't even have every game, because the first thing people are going to do is see this and say, where are the CDI games? Sorry, I don't have them, but I have pretty much everything else. So I have most of the amiibos. Some have even been chewed on by a cat, so that's like an exclusive. These figures, I don't know, I really like those for some reason. I found most of those on eBay, because you just don't really find those in the wild, so I get on eBay, but that was before they shot up to what they are today. But to me, when I see this, my favorite thing is these two shelves right here, centered between the two posters, the Wind Waker and Majora's Mask poster. So I sorted these in release date order, starting with Legend of Zelda for NES. The really cool thing about my two copies there of Legend of Zelda and Adventure of a Link for NES is I actually bought those at Higdon Video, which is no longer in existence. It was a video rental store in Alabama, and they, rented video games and everything back in the day. And then when new consoles would come out, they would eventually take all their old games and sell them. So I think it was when the N64 was out, they finally started clearing out their original NES games. So I got those, I think, for $5 a piece. So I've had those have been in my collection since I was pretty young. Most of the stuff I bought older, later in life, but those I've actually had for a long time. So I think, though, I'm going to pull this one down, the best piece of this entire wall, I'm going to pull it right here. All right. So this Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons for Game Boy Color, you'll notice the Walmart sticker, it is still sealed. So the story behind this thing is, I was a kid, let's see when this came out. I'd have been around 12, 13 years old. I had Oracle of Ages, which is the other one. I had that one I bought it in the summer for my Game Boy Color, and I was playing it, I lost it. Christmas was coming up, and so I went to my mom and said, hey, give me Oracle of Seasons. I had Oracle Ages, give me Oracle of Seasons, because I lost my copy of it. And so she ended up buying it for me for Christmas. Well, sometime between then and Christmas, I found my copy of Oracle of Ages. So even though I was a young kid, for whatever reason, I never opened it. So I'm the original owner of this copy of Oracle of Seasons, and I've had it since I was 12 or 13 years old. I do have multiple Ocarina of Time copies. I think one of these my dad found at a yard sale for $5. Most of these do have the games in. Unfortunately, I do not have the other Link to the Past box, so if anyone's watching this video and they want to sell me a box, let me know. So this Minish Cap, I will say that took me a long time to find a really good copy of Minish Cap. I mean, that's been probably 2 years now, but I mean, that took me a really long time to find a copy of that one. But I finally did, and it wasn't too bad of a price. And then all the way through here, I do have other Legend of Zelda games as well. I mean, I have Breath of the Wild. That one's in the house with my Switch stuff. I have Link's Awakening for the Switch in there. Oh, and I have some Wii U games, Legend of Zelda Wii U games. Those are in the house as well. The Wii U's not out here yet. If I ever get a PS5, Wii U's going to come out here. So this is not the most exciting wall, but I mean, I like Amiibo. I don't have them all, but I pretty much have the ones that I wanted to buy. At first I was going to buy them all, but it just got too crazy. And disclaimer, I have 2 kids. I don't have time or the money to buy all the Amiibo because they keep coming out with them. One of the cool things up here though is this, and this could technically be on the wall over there. I just kind of ran out of room. But this is the Majora's Mask 3D special edition that they came out with that came with a Skull Kid figure. I just got extremely lucky and got that on Amazon. It was one of those things where you refresh, and I just happened to get it. I still don't know to this day how I managed to get it because it's just about impossible to find. I'm a fan of lunchboxes, so I found these Legend of Zelda lunchboxes on eBay. They're not expensive, they're not valuable. I just think they're really cool. I have some Super Mario Brothers lunchboxes and stuff too. I don't know, I've always really liked lunchboxes. So there's just some standard, your amiibos. This is probably my favorite amiibo as far as like non-Zelda ones. I think the Dark Pit amiibo looks really cool. The Banjo-Kazooie amiibo will be out here in a little bit. I'll have to get that. But really the cool thing over here on this wall is the first issue of Nintendo Power. I had to put that in a little frame. It's in horrible shape. I mean, it's literally duct taped together, but it's still the first issue. So I just think that's really neat. All right, so over here, this is probably the coolest thing over here. I wish it was in a little bit better shape. So this is a sealed copy of Pokemon Snap that was bundled with the strategy guide. It is so yellow. I don't know if these people had this thing sitting outside or what, but I want to say this is like one of those things you would find back in the day at like a Sam's Club or Costco or something where they would bundle them together. My dad actually found this for me. It was at a yard sale. It was like one of those world's longest yard sales. He found this somewhere. I think he gave 10 or 15 bucks. He didn't know what it was. I mean, it's been a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago, but still, even at that time, that was a really good find. But it's cracked. It's in horrible shape. It's hard to display, but so I just kind of have it down here. But I really, really like that thing. Another piece over here that's really cool. Just a sealed GameCube controller. It's just not something you see every day. Working our way up here. I don't have all of the different Funtastic in Nintendo 64s yet. I have a good chunk of them, but I'm missing I think 2 of them, maybe 3. I do have the Pikachu, and I actually have 2 copies of the Pikachu one. We'll get to the other one here in a second, but this is my loose copy. This is for those who back the Kickstarter. This was for 40 Winks. This was an unreleased Nintendo 64 game, and I can't remember who the name of I think it was Pico Interactive. They actually released 40 Winks like a year ago. So I did the complete edition or whatever package they had. So it came with like a box copy of 40 Winks, the controller and everything. So the way I saw it was, I have a full N64 set, and even though this wasn't an official game, I might as well buy it to be part of the full set. Yeah, I mean, just going across the top here, have a lot of pretty cool boxed consoles. Some of them are in rough shape. Some of them are pretty good, but this box console right here, it's in horrible shape. The $15, that is actually what I paid for it. That one sticks out to me because when I met my now wife, it was the first time we ever talked was actually like the day that I bought that. So I bought that Nintendo at a flea market that morning, and then later that morning or that same day was the first time I talked to the woman who is now my wife. So that just kind of has a special place in my heart because of that. This one I actually bought at a flea market as well. I bought that and a bunch of other games, and the funny story there was I accidentally gave the guy too much money. I gave him like $20 extra because I had two 20s that were stuck together. I was $100 and something bucks, and he didn't say a word. And I was like, okay, well, all right, I guess you got an extra tip on that one, but I didn't realize it till later. So I have a lot of different colored controllers here. This is one that's really cool. I mean, I think this thing has actually been shooting up in value a little bit lately, but I don't know, it just looks really neat. But I have N64 controllers literally everywhere, not on display necessarily. I mean, there are probably 20 just over here, but just in drawers, nooks, crannies. There's probably some under the couch. I have N64 controllers everywhere. The thing that ended up happening with me a lot was, especially this was like 4 or 5 years ago when you could find this stuff a whole lot more than you can now. I might buy a lot of Super Nintendo, 64, whatever game, system, console, bunch of controllers, games, and at that time I would like try to resell to try to get a little extra money to use that to fund the collection. And I might buy a system that had 4 controllers with it, and then when I'd sell it, I would sell it with 1 or 2. So if you keep doing that over and over and over and over, you start accumulating a lot of controllers. So that's really what happened. So here's kind of an interesting. I have a couple. I think I have two pieces in my collection that kind of are related to this same event or same story. So in 2011, I lived in Alabama at the time, and our house was destroyed by a tornado. If anyone remembers, that's the giant tornado that came through Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, all those different places, and killed tons of people. So the house I lived in with my brother was destroyed. And luckily, a lot of our stuff actually made it out. Like, it survived. We're still not 100% sure how that worked out. But this Sega right here, this Master System in the box, was actually in the house at that time. So if you see this water damage that's on the console, that's because it was literally in a house that was, the roof and the walls were ripped off. So that's why that thing looks the way it does. But it's still in decent shape. Despite that, the other piece that's kind of has that same story, and this I was telling RetroWolf here before we started filming it, I'm going to talk about this slim PS2 right here, and it's like, why would you talk about a slim PS2? It's just a PS2. But if you look closely at the top of this thing, you'll see all this white, these little spots. So yeah, if you look at this thing, that's actually from chunks of drywall. So when that tornado destroyed my house, this thing was actually in my room. I was actually playing Kingdom Hearts. I actually specifically remember because that's the game that was in there. It's first Kingdom Hearts. I was like right at the end of it too. I lost my memory card, so I lost all that. But I was playing Kingdom Hearts. House was destroyed by a tornado. I wasn't playing Kingdom Hearts when the tornado came through. I'm just saying I'd been playing Kingdom Hearts. And that thing survived. Still works. I played it not too long ago. Played some Tiger Woods. But yeah, that's actually from where all that crap in my room literally just came crashing down, and that's where that came from. So down here, I have a plethora of consoles. It's not all my consoles, but it's a lot of them. I have try to have a switch system here where I can hook up in one spot and switch between different consoles, and they're very prettily labeled with horrible labels there to switch between GameCube and 64, etc. But I just wanted to have as many consoles on the TV as possible. I know that these, for like N64 and Super Nintendo, those don't look the best on this TV, but it's fine, whatever. I have another TV or 2 or 3 dedicated to the older consoles, but I still have all this other random stuff down here. This Sega CD is pretty neat. This is like the model, I think it's the Model 1 that has like the tray that actually pops out. We were talking about that before filming, and I said I can't get it to work, unfortunately. And this is like the classic beast right here that has everything, the big 32X, and then the side Sega CD. Actually, that's what I had when I was growing up, was that model. My Saturn, my Dreamcast. That's, for those that don't know, you can look at a Sega Dreamcast, and if they have a certain model number on them, I know they came out on September 9th, 1999, but if you look at the model number, it's like if they were made in that first year run, there's some way to tell. You can look it up online, but you get the specifics. But if they were made within that first window, they will actually play burnt discs. So this one is one of those that's within that first year. So I actually have somewhere in here, I have a book of just disc after disc after disc of ROMs, and you just put them in there and play. You don't have to do any modding, anything. Just dump them in there. I think Sega realized that, and then that's when the next version came out that stopped that from happening. So my game room is an external building from the house. Essentially, this game room, not to this level, but my games used to all be in the house, and we needed like I said, 2 kids, you got to move some stuff around. So I had to move the game room out here to make room for kids and every office and everything else in the house. So this is an external building, and there's power, giant power line running, or not power line, but underground wiring running out here for the electrical. And this spool was actually what that electrical wiring was on, and what we end up using. So I saved this giant spool. It doesn't look the best, but I kind of sanded it down, stained it, and I put these little spoke things on it, because my idea was magazines are kind of hard to display, right? So I was like, I can repurpose this thing and make a little coffee table out of it. And it turned out okay. Put this Banjo-Kazooie controller holder here, because there's a giant hole in the middle, cobwebs down in there and crap, but it kind of covers it up. But this thing's on Amazon right now. But what's cool down here, starting right around here, is Nintendo powers from very early on. I mean, I have issue number 1 up there, but starting down here are some really early ones as well. I wish I had them sorted out in release order, but I don't. But there's some really, really old ones in here that goes all the way to about here, so a good chunk. Those actually, at one point in time, this was back when you could actually get some stuff off Craigslist. I actually had a posting on there on Craigslist saying, hey, I want to buy Nintendo Powers. And some dude reached out and said, hey, I have tons of Nintendo Powers. Now, he sold me all those, I think, for $50. So that's where those Nintendo Powers came from. And I love strategy guides. So the rest of this around here is just the most random assortment of strategy guides. Games I have played, games I haven't played, but my favorite section as far as strategy guides go is probably more on this side, because this is where all the Legend of Zelda ones are, a lot of the Pokemon ones, a lot of the Mario ones. Have most of the Legend of Zelda strategy guides here, a lot of the Mario ones. And over here are just random, like N64 ones. I'll just kind of pull some out. So you have like your Donkey Kong, your Perfect Dark, your Banjo-Tooie, your Pokemon Stadium. You know, have Kirby down there. All that good stuff, because N64 we're going to see here in a minute. That was like my console when I was a kid. That was the one that I saved up the money to buy when I was, I guess, 9 years old, 10 years old. So that just has a special place in my heart. So that's why I really try to have a lot of N64 guides, because that's just always been my thing. So this is the wall right here. This is, I don't know, I said the Legend of Zelda wall is my favorite place. This may be my favorite place. I don't know. It's hard to say. I have a lot of stuff I like. This right here is a full American released N64 loose set. So that's 296 cartridges. I do have, you know, the heavy hitters and everything in there as well. But that is all 296. I didn't get any of the Japanese exclusives or anything like that. So that's just the American ones. I do not have them all in the box. I have a decent chunk in the box, but not all of them. Quick story about this guy, if anybody's familiar with this dude right here, Sculptor's Cut. I actually bought this before I was even really like hardcore collecting for the N64. Like I would buy N64 games if I found them, but I wasn't like, I'm going to get a full set of N64 games. But you know, this was 4 or 5 years ago. I had an ad on Craigslist, you know, hey, sell me your games. And some dude reached out to me and was telling me about, I have this copy of this game, Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut. It's really hard to find. And honestly, at that time, I didn't even know about it. Like, I didn't really know much about that game. I mean, I knew a lot about N64, but I didn't know the details of what Sculptor's Cut was. At the time, it was probably worth $150, which is a lot, you know, back then. I mean, that's still a lot of money today, but now that, I don't even know what that thing's worth right now. But anyways, this dude reached out to me. He said, hey, man, I used to work at Blockbuster, and whenever I left, you know, I'd had some stuff that I took with me. I don't think he stole it, but he, you know, got it. And he's like, you know, I'll sell it. So I got that copy of Sculptor's Cut from him, and I think 5 or 6 other games. And in there was the Indiana Jones game for N64. I think there was Majora's Mask for N64, and some really good Super Nintendo games. I think I gave him like $120 for everything. And I was like nervous about it. That's a lot of money to spend on these games. And then it paid out, because a couple of years later I decided I really want to get a full N64 set, and then I had a lot of it, a big chunk of it knocked out already. So that's all of those. Got some pretty good Super Nintendo games here. A lot of them in the box. A lot of these came from 2 specific purchases. I bought a lot of individual ones on the way, but a large chunk of these came from 2 individual purchases. Again, some dude reached out to me and said, hey man, I had a video store years ago, video rental store, and here's what I have. So that's where a lot of those came from. This is one of my favorite things right here, Pikachu N64 in the box. My dad found that at a flea market. We were both at the flea market. We had gotten separated from each other, and you guys don't know my dad, but he doesn't know a lot about video games. He knows a little bit. He's learning, but he calls me and says, "Hey, there's some Pokemon thing over here that says Nintendo on it. You might want to go buy it." And he didn't know what it was, so I go over there, and it was this. It was $40, and he thought I was crazy. I was like, "No, this is legit." Got one Fantastic one in the box, a couple of different color Game Boy colors. I would love to get all those, but this, don't have time right now. This is probably my favorite Super Nintendo box, just because it has this Legend of Zelda sticker on it. The funny thing about that is I bought that on eBay, and not that long ago, maybe a year or 2 ago, and they said it was just a box. Like, they said this is just a box with styrofoam, and they didn't have any pictures of it open. And I bought it for I think $25-30 or something, because I was like, I just want that box. And I get it, and the Super Nintendo is in there. Like, the whole system is in there. It looks like it's never been used. So these people just they didn't know what they had, and they listed it incorrectly, and it just kind of worked out for me. All right, we got a bunch of original Nintendo games. I'm not like the biggest NES guy just because it was a little bit before my time. I still played it a lot, but I mean, I do have some really good games in here. This was just one of the games that sticks out to me from when I was a kid. I don't know. It's not a good game, but I love Ren and Stimpy. I have a pretty good little Ren and Stimpy collection right here. I don't know. I love 90s stuff, and I just love the way these boxes look. Just love that Ren and Stimpy artwork. So pretty much any game that came out as like a cartoon, like Rocko's Modern Life, something like, I buy it. I can't help it. I'm also a sucker for Batman. I collect Batman stuff, and I know we're going to see some more Batman stuff here in a minute, but I try to buy as many Batman things as I can possibly find. So these are some that I was really happy to get these right here, and the first one's up there as well. These are used, I mean, they're not like super crazy valuable. You just don't see them every day. And then, of course, I have all these different Batman games for Sega Genesis. This is, I don't know, I think that's just really cool artwork. We're actually, before we filmed this video, we were talking about Batman the Animated Series, and it's just such a good series. Most of my game room is sorted alphabetically. I haven't had time to do all of it yet. I have to do it in like spurts. Like I'll come out here for 10 minutes and sort a little bit and alphabetize, and I can't do much more than that. But so I haven't gotten there yet, so please don't judge me. So my Game Boy games up here, they are not sorted alphabetically, but I do have some cool ones. As I mentioned, I love Banjo-Kazooie, so I have Banjo Pilot and then Grunty's Revenge in the box. I also have my Ren and Stimpy games in the box. I'm a big fan of those. And have some Pokemon games in the box. This was always one of my favorite Pokemon games. So when I found this box at some point on eBay, and this isn't one of those crazy deals. I mean, I paid normal price for it, but it's just like a really nice condition box. This is always one of my favorite Game Boy games. Of course, you know, you got to have your Pokemon. I was a blue guy back in the day. I have a blue up there, but I'm not pulling it down. It's in horrible shape. And this, I have a pretty nice copy of Pokemon Yellow. I actually won this on Instagram in a raffle, so I don't remember who it was that ran that raffle, but thank you, whoever you are. All right, we got some Sega Saturn, some Sega CD. I don't have a ton of that stuff. It's just so hard to find now, so expensive. I mean, I have my Batman Returns here, and then I worked hard to track down a really clean, nice copy of this one, and it is really nice. It's still got that piece in there. I worked really hard to find that because you just don't see that every day. And another one that was really hard to track down a clean copy was this right here for the Saturn. This one's in pretty nice shape. I feel like these systems just don't get enough love, and I would love to give them more love, but they're just out of my budget. I have a box Saturn up there. You don't see that every day. That NES Advantage controller has seen better days. And I never had one of these as a kid, but I bought one. Found this at a yard sale at some point, and literally just eats batteries. That's all it does. I got my arcade one up here. I have not modded it. I know a lot of people mod them. I would like to do that. But mainly what it's used for now is I have a 3-year-old, and he comes out here and tries to play it. He just kind of smacks buttons and wants to be Spider-Man. So I get my money's worth. Nothing too crazy down here. Got some loose NES games. I used to have like 200 or 300 loose NES games. I sold most of them off. I just kind of kept the ones I wanted and sold everything else off. And that was to pay for my wedding. So still have all the boxed ones up there, but have the loose ones. Decent little 3DS collection. Got a couple of random 3DO games. You gotta have Dragon's Lair. You know, I got some Road Rash over there somewhere. Gotta have those. I don't have enough Dreamcast games. I wish I had more, but I have, you know, some of the ones that I really like. This is my favorite as a kid. I used to play this so much. This and Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX. I played those so much that my controller would actually get stuck in it's like a up left on the control stick, because that's when you did a kickflip to Indy. You did it that way. I think the square button maybe. I recently got some sealed Game Gear games. A nice trade with Channel 3 Gamer or Channel 3 Retro Gamer. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Really nice guy. You can follow him on Instagram, but we had a really nice trade. I'm not like the biggest PS1 guy, but I have some stuff. Got some PS2 games down here. I don't have like a ton of those either. Obviously a little bit more of a Nintendo guy and older Sega. Get my boxes for my NES Classics, Super Nintendo Classics. all that stuff. Any kind of Zelda merch, I'm probably going to buy. That's where all those are at. And for those who don't have these, you know, give these retro fighters, give these guys a shout out. This is an awesome controller. I mean, it's like, feels like a modern controller, but for your N64. And they're actually working on a wireless one right now, and I've already backed that on Kickstarter. Over here is GameCube games. Obviously, the man behind the camera right now has a whole lot more GameCube games than I do, so I'm not going to pretend to be the GameCube guru here. He definitely has me beat there, but you know, I bought a lot of these from my uncle. Actually, he was selling a bunch, and then I've picked up some along the way. To be honest, though, when the GameCube came out, however old I was, I wasn't playing games a whole lot back then. I kind of jumped straight from N64 to Wii. I kind of took a break around that. So I never actually had a GameCube as a kid. So a lot of these games I missed out on until I was an adult. So I didn't play Melee till like 7 years ago or something. I mean, I just didn't have it. Got a couple of Wii games, you know, got like 7 copies of Twilight Princess for some reason. I don't know why. I have unsorted original Xbox games. I have Conquer. You gotta have Conquer. That's one of the best ones. And this may be the best one out of the bunch right here. If anyone's watching this video and you've never played Star Wars Jedi Outcast Jedi Knight 2, just go ahead and play it. It'll change your life. And you can buy it on Steam for like a nickel. So just do it. It's worth it. And here is my lone Xbox One game. I don't own an Xbox One. I bought this when this game came out because I was like, man, I'm probably going to buy an Xbox One at some point in time. I never did. This has nothing to do with anything else, but this was a game that I played a lot as a kid. This is actually just for PC. It's an Animaniacs game, and I found this on eBay and haven't actually played it since then. It's for Windows 95. I probably can't even get this to work on my computer. Since I'm pointing out random games that are good, NHL Hits 2002. It's fun. Play it if you haven't. It's a good time. And this is a good time to give a shout out to my brother-in-law, Matt. Not Matt behind the camera, a different Matt. We played a lot of this game together, and we've had a lot of fun with it. So if you want to have some fun with your buddies, I definitely recommend it. All right, so over in this corner, this is kind of where I've been working the most. It's kind of adding some stuff to it. I recently picked this Trinitron up at a church yard sale. Over in that corner we were at earlier, I have the a little bit newer TV, so I needed some older TVs. So that's where these came into play. My church actually had a yard sale, and they had posted it. It wasn't this TV. They posted a different older TV like this. I don't even remember what brand it was, and I said I wanted it. It was like an online, like you claim it like on Facebook and then go pick it up. So I claimed it because I was like, oh man, that'd be good for the game room. And I claimed it, and then they reached out and said, hey, we actually don't have that. We accidentally listed it. We threw it out. And I was like, okay, oh well. And then the lady running the yard sale messaged me like 2 days later and said, hey, we have this one. Do you want that one? And it was this Trinitron. So it worked out for me. I got it for a pretty good price. And have some mini consoles as possible hooked up to this thing, kind of hidden away. I got my TurboGrafx here. I don't have a lot of games for TurboGrafx, just a couple. I have Bonk's Adventure. That's what counts. I got my Panasonic 3DO. Road Rash is in there. Top loader Nintendo and a Super Nintendo. Not a lot, it's kind of hard to show this stuff up. This drawer is just full of handheld stuff. I mean, it's just full of Game Boys, Game Boy Colors, Game Gear games, all that. It's just it's hard to display that stuff. So they're all just kind of sitting in there, but they're like, I don't know, probably a couple hundred games shoved in there. This is one of my new things here, and I'm like obsessed with this Batman TV. I love this thing. I saw this online I think it was on Reddit. Someone had one. I was like, man, that thing is awesome. I really want to get one of those. So I posted somewhere, and this was like a month or two ago. I posted, I'm like, hey, I had a picture of one. I was like, does anyone have one of these that they would be willing to sell? And this really nice lady who lives literally 5 minutes down the road happened to see that posting, and she's like, yeah, I have one. My grandkids used to use this thing. And she sold it to me for a good price. It actually has the matching DVD player. I don't know. I'm a big Batman fan, so that thing is just really, really cool. Obviously, a big fan of Mario. Got random Mario stuff here. I'm also a big fan of American McGee's Alice. I had that game for PC as a kid, and I wasn't a kid. I guess I was a teenager, but I just really love that game. And I found these figures at a yard sale at some point in time, and I had to get those. Like, those are just really cool. I have multiple copies. American McGee's Alice. Pretty much anytime I see it, I grab a copy of it. And this is actually kind of a harder copy of it to find. So if you'll notice here, she has this weapon, whereas on this one she has like a bloody knife. and there's like blood on the knife and blood on her apron. This one's all clean. I don't know the full story, but I believe it's something like this was like the original copy of the game that was released, and they thought it was a little bit too violent, so they came back and they re-released it with this cover. So if I ever see it with the bloody cover, I always grab it, just because you don't see it as much. Sega Dreamcast keyboard in the box. That's a very dumb accessory, but you just don't see one every day, especially not in the box. This is one of the things you rarely see. I can't really pull it down right now because it's kind of covered with all these Legend of Zelda figures. But this is kind of like that Pokemon Snap that I have that's sealed. So this is actually the Game Boy camera, printer, and an extra roll of paper, all in a blister pack together. This was probably at Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club or something, and it's, you know, it's not in the greatest shape, but they've never been opened, and they've never been separated from that blister, and that blister pack, and I don't know, it makes me happy just to see that, because I had a Game Boy camera and a printer as a kid, and it's got a $20 sticker on it. I think that's actually what my dad, again, you know, shout out to my dad, he actually found that one at a flea market or a yard sale and grabbed it for me. He didn't know what it was, but I'm really happy with that. Got my Nickelodeon clock. So this doesn't match the video game theme, but it just kind of matches the overall retro nostalgia 90s theme going on here. Got the Virtual Boy. I do not have the original stand and everything. I had to buy like a different stand and a 3D printed whatever this piece is, but everything else I have. It does work. I played it. This is my backwards compatible PS3. Buddy Charles gave it to me, so if Charles watches this video, thanks Charles. I've actually played it lately with some PS2 games, so thank you for that.
Josh, dude, your game room tour is awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome game room tour, and thank you so much for giving us a tour of it. I especially love the Zelda wall, and I especially love the wall of games and that Batman TV. Dude, there's just so much stuff in your game room that is just awesome. I appreciate you letting me come over today to do this. I know it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
For sure.
And this is the first time I've got to see the game room since it has been complete.
Right.
So.
Well, you actually helped when we were putting the building itself together. So
oof, that drywall on the ceiling, man. Oof,
yeah,
that was
thank
rough.
you for that.
Yeah, that was rough.
Hey, but fruits of your labor, right?
Yes, exactly. Folks, if you enjoyed this game room, please be sure and hit that like button. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about Josh's game room, and if you have any questions about anything that you've seen in today's video, I'm sure Josh will be happy to answer those questions. So throw those in the comments down below. If you're new here, consider subscribing so that you can join the RetroWolf family. And as always, folks, stay safe out there, keep playing games and having a good time, and we'll see you all in the next one.